folks, Nathan here with Vastlane Car, and let me introduce you to the 2021 Hyundai Elantra Limited. It is a vehicle for people who want a practical ride with a taste of luxury. Let's face it, a lot of us out there cannot afford a $40,000 or $50,000 or $60,000 car, much less a $30,000 car. But what if you can get really high-tech goodies with a fairly luxurious interior with really good economy and a really pretty wrapper for around $26,000. Yeah, that's a bargain. What you're looking at here is a 147 horsepower four-cylinder engine. It's a 2-liter that puts out 132 pound-feet of torque. And despite what they call it, basically it's hooked up to a continuously variable transmission, a CVT. Now, with this setup, this vehicle is extremely efficient. As a matter of fact, it's one of the more efficient vehicles in its class given everything you get here. 31 miles per gallon city, 41 miles per gallon highway, combined 35 mpg. Why is that significant? Well, if you can't afford an inexpensive hybrid, but you want all the goodies, this thing is a great choice. Now, for those of you who are asking, all right, but we do know for a fact that there's the Honda Civic, there's the Toyota Corolla, and there's the Nissan Sentra. What about those cars? Yes, they do compete directly with this one. The Honda puts out a lot more horsepower if you get the same trim, basically, or a similar trim with all the goodies. But the Toyota and the Nissan, well, they're much closer to this vehicle. As a matter of fact, the Toyota puts out less power. This vehicle gives you a lot more content for less money. In fact, content is what this vehicle is all about. That and the killer warranty. Now I want to show you what I'm on about when it comes to content. This is the 7th generation of the Hyundai Elantra. They started back in the early 90s, and back then they weren't exactly what I would consider pretty. Not at all. They were basically very simple packages powered by a very simple Mitsubishi engine. Now, everything has changed. Everything is pretty much in-house, and that includes the engine and this outstanding design. I really like it. For what you're getting for the money, you're getting a very handsome car. I think it's handsome, at least. I like the profile. The front end looks kind of angry, which it's really not an angry car. It doesn't put out enough power to be remotely angry. But it does have these really cool 17-inch wheels. The trim is subtle. I like that. They didn't overdo it. I don't like chrome very much, and they have just a couple little pieces, including this strip, which runs all the way to the back. This is the only design element I'm a little off about, because I think they want it to look kind of like vents. It doesn't serve a purpose. No, but it's a minor issue. Let me show you the back. I love the back design. This is fantastic. The big letters, the taillight design, beautiful. And check this out. That's how you pop the trunk. Look at that. Look at that. 14.3 cubic inches, baby. That is a big trunk. As a matter of fact, this vehicle in its class has the greatest passenger volume. A majority of that has to go with rear legroom, and I'll show you that in just a sec. Spare tire and a little extra space around it in case you have to put things in there. Yeah, Roman would love it because his hair care products can actually fit in that extra section. Let me show you the interior, because that is where the car really shines. With the Limited, you get a really nice interior for what is basically an entry-level economy car. I really love what they've done. Now, for those of you who recall, recently we've done some Kias, and we were really impressed with those interiors as well. Well, Hyundai hasn't disappointed either. For those of you who don't know, they are related. One thing that Hyundai's done that I really like is they've used a different type of fabric on the door panel than anywhere else in the vehicle. It's just for this, and it's kind of like a denim material. And the Limited has leather trimmed seats, and they're pretty comfortable. Although I will say, with my big size and my big body, I can tell that these seats would be better suited for someone who's not quite as large. With that being said, legroom is excellent up front. As a matter of fact, my seat is not all the way back. I'm 6'1", and if I go all the way back, I will have a hard time hitting the pedals. That's a good thing. Headroom is pretty good. Now, it does have a sunroof, but even with the sunroof, I really am not suffering from a headroom issue. However, getting in and out of the car, I do have to duck quite a bit. That's the case for a lot of small sedans. This layout is sweet. Steering wheel is beautiful. I love the way it's shaped. I do prefer a flat bottom steering wheel. Big person, flat bottom steering wheel works a little bit better. And still, the stitching, the grip, the feel is fantastic. It really does belong on a much, much faster vehicle, because this ain't fast. The switches, the design, this is right out of Mercedes-Benz playbook. This whole setup here is just beautiful. Everything here is great. I really am just overjoyed with the layout, because this is an inexpensive car that inside feels like it's worth twice the amount of money. Let's talk about the details. Outstanding graphics on the 10.25-inch screen. That is just great. It's more than competitive. It's push button, and also, of course, you can touch the screen as well. I love it. It's great. Very simple to configure. Has a lot of functions, but what's really cool is what's next to it. This comes with the Limited, and this is, look at that, a fully automated LCD screen. Once again, 10.25 inches, and it can be configured with a few things, but for the most part, it has a very simple setup. It makes total sense. It's very easy to use. There are a ton of controls on the steering wheel, but it gives you an idea of the various packages the car has. It has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, wireless charging, all that stuff. On top of that, aside from Bluetooth, everybody has that. It has a couple different setups for the cruise control, including a smart cruise control that allows you to follow vehicles, and it has lane departure warning and lane guidance control assist, which basically helps you stay in the lane. Basically gives you a lower level of autonomous driving. So in other words, when you're on the highway, this thing will do most of the work for you, as long as you're safe and you keep your hands on the steering wheel, which is really cool. Once again, this is a $26,000 car, and it's giving you a ton of stuff for the dough. Alrighty, here we go. Now, there are a couple things I should point out. First of all, this car is not a powerhouse. If I had to list really my three biggest complaints, most of which has to do with the powertrain, but they're not huge complaints. This car is not fast. It is relatively quick, so it gets up to speed in traffic just fine. You will not be left behind at a regular traffic stop. However, when it comes to actual performance, or trying to, say, go onto an on-ramp faster than a Nissan Sentra, Toyota Corolla, well, actually you might beat the Corolla, but you will not beat the equivalent Honda Civic. That's where you are. You're on the lower end of the list. That's okay. You're not buying this car for performance, right? So here we go. I'm going to do a little bit of accelerating right now. Engine makes a lot of noise, and when you're really revving it, it comes through the cabin, so you can hear it. I can also hear some wind noise. Bear in mind that even though it looks like a luxury cabin, this is a $26,000 car. It is not a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW that has much better sound deadening. Fortunately, it handles quite well. Brakes are excellent. And in a pinch, emergency maneuvers, stuff like that, this car won't let you down. That's great. But in terms of excitement, yeah, you might want to look elsewhere. Here's the good news. This car has cousins and brothers that are far more athletic than it is. They have much more powerful engines. There's even, with Kia and their Forte and everything else, and Hyundai and its beefier brethren are some manual transmission options for those of you who like to stir your own coffee. Now, another thing you get with this package is the Bose sound system, which is really good in this little car. 8 speakers plus the subwoofer. And the reason why it's so good in my book, and the reason I'm mentioning it, is because the engine makes a terrible noise. It's not a great sounding engine, so I don't just use the stereo system to drown out the engine noise. It usually drowns out the voices in my head, which works great. But for the money, once again, really good sound system. Nice and comfy. The legroom in this car is absolutely outstanding for the size. I am sitting behind myself, 6'1", and I have oogles, tons, mucho legroom, several inches, and my feet do fit underneath the front seats. Now, the headroom in the back is okay. It has that fastback design, so if you can tell, if I'm sitting straight bolt up and I have a tall torso, then my hat just nicks the roof. However, because I slouch, no big deal. The other thing is simple armrest, 2 cup holders. I do, because it's so luxurious, I do regret that there's no rear vent back here. Now bear in mind, this is an economy car. Not many of them have it in this class, but I do wish they had it because it's just so nice in here. I mean, you would think that they would have that. I wanted to show you guys something that came with the car, and that's this sticker. The Hyundai Elantra received the 2021 North American Car of the Year. We do not vote in this, so we didn't have a vote, but I'll tell you one thing. For its size, for its price, and for the packaging, I actually kind of agree with them. The bottom line is this car comes out to $26,000, basically, $26,600. That is a hell of a deal. Is it perfect? No. It needs more power, the engine is loud, the dynamics are decent, but it's not a sports car, and I like cars that are a little bit more fun. But for a car that gives you a ton of tech for the money, it is one of the best cars of the class. And remember, it comes with Hyundai's absolutely outstanding warranty, 10 years, 100,000 miles for the powertrain. That is incredible. Guys, thank you so much for joining me for the Fast Lane Car and TFL Now and everything else. This is Nathan. I'll see you next time.